welcome to Lesson 10 of the Christian Practices Unit. And this topic is based upon the Church's response to world poverty. We're going to look at why Christians bother, do they feel it is their position in society to help out the fellow people of their fellow human being. And we're secondly going to look at the why, we look at the how they do that. Okay, so there are two strands to today's lesson, the why and the how. Can I first, before we get cracking on that, please, can I direct you, or if you haven't already done so, urge you please to get over to Show My Homework so that you can also look at the Word document that is attached to this YouTube clip. They both sit alongside each other actually on Show My Homework. And I'd like you, please, on that Word document, to please have a go at the activities and make notes on the key terms. Finally, obviously, the narrative that I'm about to deliver to you, could you make key notes on it, please? And take a photo and send it as an attachment to my Outlook email address. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Thank you. So the why do Christians feel compelled to help their fellow human being in society? Surely, it's the government, it's politics, it's somebody else's job. Well, they feel compelled because actually their source of authority or source of wisdom, the Bible, dictates that they should. For example, Lazarus and the rich man. Lazarus was somebody who had absolutely nothing. The dogs would come along and often they would just lick the sores of Lazarus, which would often weep. They were a constant source of moisture in the hot Middle Eastern climate. Not nice. Lazarus, needless to say, wasn't a well man, and he lived at the gates of a rich man. And one day he asked, please, may I just have the scraps from your table? What would I feed the dogs? The rich man said to him. And he continued, the rich man, to live a very, very what can we say? A lifestyle that I suppose is vulgar in terms of how much he had. Sharing nothing. One day, the rich man died, and as a result of his bad actions, he went to hell. Shortly after, amazingly after, not before, Lazarus then dies. And he was very little in this life. He was a reasonable bloke. He went to heaven. Now, it illustrates that actually, if you want to be the rich man, then don't give, don't share. But it is very much the mission for Christians to actually share their wealth. And if they don't, they are kind of given quite an explicit message of what will happen if they don't give. Secondly, we've got the parable of the sheep and the goats. And the sheep and the goats, again, explicitly illustrate that people who do not give, they are like goats because they do not follow the shepherd, unlike sheep, the shepherd being God. Such people do not give. For I was thirsty and you ignored me. I was hungry and you gave me nothing. These people ultimately will end up in hell. Now, this is not me saying this. Is, of course, what the sheep and the goats teaches. But again, it does very, very strongly point to the fact that if you don't look out for your fellow human being, that is what is going to happen to you. Now, on a philosophical basis, this is probably wrong to do X to achieve Y. In other words, it's probably wrong to help your neighbour so that you may pave a way for yourself to go to heaven. I know Immanuel Kant, which we do in year 12, would certainly have something to say about that. But ultimately, you are looking out for your fellow human being, regardless of motive. Sorry to digress a little bit there. So what do they do? What do Christians do? Well, there are two major charities. One of them is Christian Aid, and they do reflect these gospel values in what they do. And it's what Christian Aid is the official relief and development agency for 41 church denominations in Britain and Ireland. And it began in 1945 as a direct response of World War II, when people were essentially having nowhere to live, and the church rallied together, raised money so that building developments could be made, and people could have somewhere to live whose houses were bombed. Um, they believe in life before death, which is kind of obvious, really. You know, everyone has a life before that death, but I mean by a life, I mean a proper life, not just an existence. So ensuring people have a good quality of life, and they do this by ensuring that people have both short and long term aid in place. Short term aid being the bare essentials like food, water, shelter, whilst long term being shelter. Like housing, infrastructure, hospitals and medical equipment, running water. And Christian Aid doesn't necessarily dip its hands in its pockets all the time to and just pump money at the situation, but it will work with the communities worldwide. It's a worldwide organization. Doesn't matter what religion people belong to. It's not the case of, oh, if you're not Christian, we're not helping. But they will help everyone and work with the people and actually really kind of interrogate, well, what is it that you need? What can we provide? And initially, they will try and empower the people to actually lobby and rally the government, put pressure on the government, called pressure groups, so that they empower the people so they can get what they want. Back in the 90s, there was a program in Madras where there was a lack of running water. Christian Aid spent very little in ensuring that plumbing and water was able to run to the households in that community. What it did do was get the people of Madras together so that they could form a pressure group, lobby to the government, and the government succumbed to the pressure and set up a infrastructure so that community members could get water. Another big charity which Christians have is CAFOD, which stands for Catholic Agencies for Overseas Development. And again, it's very much geared, whilst it is a Catholic organisation, it is non-discriminative in terms of who it helps. It will help every world religion worldwide, and it will ensure that they very much follow in the footsteps of Jesus, in that they will love their neighbour and treat others as they would like to be treated, and therefore stamp out injustice and poverty. Good luck, guys.